we don't want in this jurisdiction is government dictating code to the people. We want people having input in that. So our advisory boards across the spectrum provide a very valuable service, and your appointments to those boards are extremely critical. The plumbing board, when we worked with the subcommittee that worked for 8 months on this worked very hard. They looked at UPC. They went exactly as they said. They went word by word, page by page, and they looked at the Uniform Plumbing Code, and they built in 60-plus amendments that they all agreed upon, and that my staff, my master plumbers, also agreed with. We were very comfortable with that. The conflict in this process came in the international code discussion. And we were, I hope I was clear at the beginning of this process, which was almost a year ago now, at the end of 2015, that we have to give due diligence to both these codes because a number of plumbers wanted to see it, and the Association of Central Kansas wanted to see it. And this is a group of a number of plumbers, local people that we work for. So we were very clear we wanted both of these codes scrutinized. And what we didn't get with the IPC was at page by page, paragraph by paragraph review. We got a group sitting in a room saying, you IPC people, tell us what you want and we'll write it in. That's not total, that's not bona fide, justified review. You have to go through page by page, and that's what didn't seem to get done. And then so we present what we're presenting today. And I think that I insist that needs to happen to deal with what the chairman talked about, amendments. I think we're going to want, I've not seen any code that I want to adopt lock, stock, and barrel. We need amendments to the plumbing code, international or uniform, and that needs to happen. But we couldn't seem to get that to happen in that down in the dirty work of going page by page. And timing is of an issue there, but we flipped the page on UPC in May or June, and we were ready to attack IPC. They spent a whole day at the Seneca office looking at IPC, but instead of the page-to-page dissecting of that code, it was more of a, well, tell us what you want. And that's not how we do code reviews. They'll tell you that. It's not how we do code reviews.
Okay, but you're going to do that page by page with IPC should this
if this passes, yes, sir. We have to. We would be negligent to not go through that code page by page, paragraph by paragraph, and make sure that we're satisfied with that in the industry.
Okay, and then just to recap some comments, it's been said that all state buildings follow IPC code. Is that?
The state of Kansas, yes, sir.
And WSU's Innovation Campus is going to follow the IPC?
That's correct, sir, yes. And we do not inspect that. State of Kansas inspects that. Local inspectors, Jason's crew will not inspect state buildings. That's done at state level.
Okay. And then we have several communities in Sedgwick County already under the IPC. Is that
Derby, Mulvane, as far as I know. I don't know about several. Okay. It's two that I'm aware of.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to get to the point where I can feel comfortable with the vote on what's good policy.
Understood, sir.
And so, and like I would also like to get to the point where our Metropolitan Area Building and Code Department is a authentically merged organization, so you guys don't have fragmented and different codes and all to follow, and we got different. And but maybe you need to go through the pain for a term in order to come to a decision on which code we'll follow. But if the commitment is from our staff that we're going to end up with one code ultimately, and that this application will be limited in its potential just to the unincorporated areas of Sedgwick County, that is correct?
Unincorporated county and any small town that has MOU with us, unless they choose to opt out, as Mayor Gregory has indicated they might in Goddard, and I don't have a problem with that.
All right. And no one is compelled to use either one code or the other. They can choose which one they want.
That's correct, sir.
It's on that data that you'll make a recommendation back to us for a single code in the future.
Yes, sir. And so we're on the same page. If this dual code works seamlessly and well in county jurisdiction for a cycle, I can come back and I may recommend dual code. I want to get to where you want to be and where Commissioner Norton. I want a singular set of rules for this county. Same thing Mayor Gregory talked to. I want it. This is good management and good policy, in a merger to have singular code. But I could come back in 3 years and say, this has worked so well, we can manage this, it's safe, it's usable, the plumbers like it, and I can manage it. We may want dual codes jurisdiction-wide. That'd be the other option. So I didn't want to...
Okay, you're going to have to convince me of that.
Very good, sir.
All right, I think that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. I'm really just to feedback one of your questions. Then this is a document that I have, and I'll be glad to give it to you, but it shows a typical plumbing configuration for an island sink, and the parts are added up and the labor is added up. Again, I'm not saying this is accurate. I'm just saying this is what they said. This is according to the cost analysis provided by the Associates Plumbing Incorporated of Columbia, Maryland, and this is based on the 2015 International Plumbing Code, cost-effective design and construction, and they're showing the parts and the labor, and they're showing that the UPC Section 909 traditional vent would be $1,663, whereas the IPC Section 918 would be $824, or 50% savings. Now, I'm not saying it's accurate, but that's a 50% savings, and you're welcome to have that. Commissioner Peterjohn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me begin by thanking everyone who is in attendance and all the testimony today. My background is a little bit different from each of my colleagues, and I agree completely with Commissioner Norton that in terms of plumbing issues, that's not where my expertise and knowledge lie. I did spend a decade working in the computer industry, albeit back in a different century, where we had to work with a code, and it was interesting because it was not a government code. It was a code to protect people from something, I think, even more dangerous than if you have a plumbing failure, you can have difficulties, but if you have an electrical failure, it can be even worse. And all the equipment that we were building and manufacturing at the company I was working for at the time had to not only have Underwriters Laboratory, which is a private entity. There's no government involvement with UL. They basically serve as a validation point and they test it, but it's a not-for-profit entity that basically allows you to provide a marking on it. And there's other institutions internationally that provide similar things in Canada and internationally. I bring that to the table because the comments I want to try and bring, not to duplicate too much what my colleagues have already spoken about, because I've been a little frustrated at how long it's taken us, and I think I first heard about the idea that we might look at different codes, and one of the failures I look and worry about is government failure, because government has a monopoly in certain areas, and Flint, Michigan was brought up. I think it's a bit of a distraction, but the argument at this point is not whether there was a failure. It's a question of whether it was a local government failure, state government failure, or a federal government failure, or a combination of all of the above. We want to avoid failure at all costs, and that's one of the reasons why competition, having people being free to choose. I'm not as concerned as some of my colleagues about having two codes going forward. I support the idea of the UPC with amendments, and I strongly want to thank those of you, particularly those who are hearing my voice right now, who are involved in that and put in a lot of hard work on your own time to make that happen. But I'll point out to you that we have a separate county zoning code from the City of Wichita's zoning code, and our staff in the planning area, they have to basically put on their county hat if it's a county zoning case, and then take it off when they get to the city zoning case. All of the 20 incorporated municipalities in Sedgwick County will be free to go in their own direction, but I think what's been important about this hearing is the ability to correct so much disinformation that has been out there, and whether it's in the media or if it's been brought out in a smaller sense. I mean, the idea that there's going to be this big cost when code books or code information is available for free online, I think getting that into the public record is very important. I think it's important for folks to know that if we go down this route, we're not going to be the largest jurisdiction in this country that's doing this. There's other jurisdictions that are much larger than us in terms of population or geographic area that have done this and have gone down this road prior to us, and they seem to be operating well, and some of them are in relatively fast-growing parts of this nation. am impressed with the fact that there is so much knowledge in terms of plumbing here, and I wonder in terms of for all the other codes that we don't have this contention out here in terms of what we're doing. I'm looking for areas where we can get a comparative advantage and be in a position to give this community, with all the assets and all the positive things we have, a comparative advantage. And I think the idea that we have people being able to be free to choose and to exercise their freedom in a way that no one wants to have any risk to public health, but we need to be competitive. Competition works. Shoot, look at the sports pages. But that's a zero-sum game. What we're talking about here is in many ways more important. It's a positive sum in that we are creating value. When plumbers do their work, and that's true of all the other trades, heating, carpentry, whatever, you're creating value, and we're in a win-win situation. That's how the economy works in a free society. And I want to create an environment where people are free to choose and to grow and live their American dream, and we can do it in a way that's safe and effective, with the fact that more people in Kansas operate or living in jurisdictions with the IPC, and the fact that the state of Kansas, the Defense Department, McConnell, we've had Derby doing it for 8 years. That, for me, is pretty compelling, and my vote today is going to reflect these facts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Peter. John?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Final comments. I just want to say again, we are doing this today because, again, plumbers brought this issue to us. They're asking for us to make this consideration today. We didn't do this on our own, and we actually have hundreds of plumbers on both sides of the issue. We did receive petitions on both sides and represented by hundreds of plumbers on both sides of the issue. I don't particularly like dual code. I'll tell you, I think Wichita about 10 years ago considered elimination of the UPC code and adoption of the IPC code. And I imagine they had a similar turnout as we have here, and they don't think they ever actually got to deliberations. They decided not to go that direction. And so that they did not do that at the time. It's not my goal to have a single code necessarily. I think if the data proves that makes sense, if we're not using that UPC in some day, then maybe that would be something we should decide to do in the future. But that's not what we're talking about right now. Right now we're talking about the freedom to choose UPC or IPC. If you guys like UPC, by all means, please continue. No change necessary, other than just adopting the 2015 code with amendments. And again, 98% of the work that the committee did is being reflected in this adoption of that code today. And if you want IPC, if this passes, then you have that option to choose that. It's a point of freedom. In terms of amending that, it'll make it more usable, but there's nothing in the IPC code that is unsafe or unhealthy. And so we might, for example, the issue of nail plates being smaller. I think that's a good amendment. I would hope that they would do that. We would define fixture units. We would allow the use of blue glue versus purple primer and clear glue. Those are amendments I think that ought to be considered, make it more usable, but they're not going to change the health and safety aspect of IPC. So we can adopt this today, and it's going to be a move in the right direction. I think it'll give the Plumbing Advisory Board a desire to go through the IPC and make those amendments, recommendations to us on IPC code. And then down the road, we have a choice to either continue dual code or to make a difference. That's a decision for a future. We don't have to decide that today. But the idea of taking away the UPC code, I understand that was very, it was not desired by many people in the community. I understand that. I'm a little surprised at the turnout, considering what we're doing is we're not taking away UPC. We're allowing an option of IPC. It's another option. It's freedom. I didn't expect the same type of resistance to allowing those that like IPC the right to choose IPC. To me, that just makes sense. We ought to let them do that. It's a good code. It's proven safe. It's progressive. It's based more on engineering standards. but it works. And with that, I don't see any other comments or questions. Commissioners, anything else before we vote today? We have a motion and a second. And all right, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
No.
Commissioner Peterjohn?
Aye.
Commissioner Ransall?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone. I think at this time we ought to go ahead and take another break. I'd like to recess for 5 minutes. We'll be back at 1:20 to finish out our agenda. Thank you. I'll take that back to this thing.
Interesting.
All right, folks, we're back from our recess. I'd like to call us back to order again. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item E, charter resolution exempting Sedgwick County, Kansas from application of K.S.A. 19-44314 and providing substitute and additional provisions on the same subject.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Karen Powell, Deputy County Counselor. This is an item to adopt a charter resolution, but the overall arching project is to transfer a position from the County Counselor's Office, an attorney position from the County Counselor's Office, to the Sheriff's Office to be a Sheriff's Office employee. In order to make that happen, we need to assure that this person will not be a civil service person, that they will not be covered by the civil service regulations, because this is going to be a person who will be essentially a confidant of the sheriff's and being able to represent the sheriff and protect his confidentiality. So this person needs to be immune from civil service regulations. In order to do that, well, first of all, we have a set of statutes in place that regulate the sheriff's civil service system, and that set of regulations is not uniform. When we have a set of regulations that are not uniform and the county is not otherwise prohibited from acting on that particular subject, we can charter out of that resolution. In other words, make those provisions not be effective to us, and then offer substitute provisions in place of whatever the statute says. So that is the case with the civil service statutes. They are not uniform, and we have no other prohibition against chartering out of those or making our own rules. We do have to have a resolution to document that. There's currently a resolution which exempts the under sheriff, the chief deputy, the senior administrative officer of the sheriff's office, and so this resolution adds an additional position to the list of exemptions from the application of civil service system. Brief background on the transfer of the position. We had a recent departure of an attorney from our office who had represented the sheriff's office, and the county counselor Eric Yost and the sheriff and I discussed that position, and that position does stays very busy. I've actually been in that position for years before our prior attorney left, but I was in that position before for several years, and I'm currently doubling up. But so I know that is a full-time position and is very deserving of having a dedicated person to the sheriff's office to help with their legal issues. They have numerous legal issues that require sometimes just drop at the hat legal opinion and help with. So anyway, the county counselor is supportive of this transfer. The sheriff is very supportive of the transfer, and he will speak to you in a minute on the actual transfer of the position in the staffing table and the budgetary authority. The timing of all of this is we do have the ad out there to seek applicants, and so we've made it clear that this will not be a civil service position. So they're going in with eyes wide open on what this is going to be all about. So it does take a 2/3 majority to adopt, and I would encourage you to adopt the resolution, and I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Very good. Thank you for the explaining the item before us today. I do need to ask, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to the agenda item today? All right, seeing none. Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Powell? Sheriff Easter, would you like to say anything before we vote on this? No, you're good to go. All right, thank you so much. Well, thank you for being here. Commissioners, what's the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we adopt the resolution and authorize the chairman to sign
Second.
any necessary documents.
Very good. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranza.
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, next item, please.
Item F, changes to the Sedgwick County Sheriff and County Counselor staffing tables.
I'd like to recognize, I guess Sheriff Easter, or who's going to present this afternoon? All right, Sheriff Easter, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate it. The staffing table, basically what we're talking about there is taking a attorney position from the county counselor's office and then transferring it over to the sheriff's office. By making that transfer by civil service policy, that is basically an appointed position, just like the two colonels' positions are in my administrative assistant. So by doing that, we're simply transferring that attorney over to the sheriff's office with the budget that goes with it. So that's simply what we're asking for. Okay. And it's effective November 14th. That's why I have my lawyer with me to remind me of things. But yeah, it'd be effective November 14th then as well.
Very cool. Thank you, Sheriff.
We won't have anybody hired by then. I will let you know that, because this will probably take we got 18 people that have applied, so we have to vet that group and through boards and those type of things. So we probably won't have anybody hired by November 14th, however.
Very good. Well, thank you for the explanation of this agenda item. Commissioners, any questions for the Sheriff? All right, do you need to go to the public? Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak to the agenda item? All right, seeing none, bring it back to the board. Commissioner Peterjohn.
I'm going to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we authorize the creation of a Sheriff's Office legal advisor position, approve the changes to the staffing tables as outlined, and authorize budget transfers from the county counselor's budget to the Sheriff's Office budget for this year and for the 2017 budget. And the effective date for this to take place will be November 14th, 2016.
Second.
All right, great. We have a motion and a second. I only have one question, that is to Counselor Yost. Counselor Yost, want to make sure, you got to lay somebody off because of this change today?
No, Mr. Chairman, Eric K.S.A. County Counselor, we do have a vacancy in the not only in our office, but in the actual position that of the person who's been helping the sheriff. Tyler Rouse was elected judge. He's actually been sworn in as judge. So we have a vacancy, and we're simply moving that vacancy from our office over to the sheriff's.
Very good. Thank you for the explanation. Any final discussion or questions? All right, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranza.
Aye.
Chairman Howell.
Aye. All right, next item, please.
Item
Thank you.
G.
Thank you.
Item G, agreement with the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners and the City of Bel Air to receive animal control services and enforcement through the Sedgwick County Animal Control Program.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Board of Health. Adrienne Bryn-Lutz, Health Director. I'm presenting an agreement with the Sedgwick County Board of County Commissioners and the City of Bel Air to receive animal control services and enforcement through the Sedgwick County Animal Control Program. Animal Control transitioned from the City of Wichita's Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department to Sedgwick County Division of Health on January 1st, 2014. Currently, the county has agreements of varying terms with 13 second and third class cities located within Sedgwick County that were established between 1996 and 2006. To create uniformity and outline services to be provided by the county, new contracts have been developed to standardize contract language and formalize mutual aid agreements in the event of an emergency situation involving animals within those cities. 3 options are now available for those second and third class cities that would like to participate. There's a full service contract, and that includes adopting our code, prosecutions, animal pickup, and mutual aid. There is the second option is a limited service, which includes animal pickup and mutual aid, and then the third option is for mutual aid only. Bel Air has requested to enter into a limited service agreement with Sedgwick County. I recommend that you approve the terms of the agreement and authorize the chair to sign.
Right. Well, thank you for the explanation. We do have public comment on the agenda. So is there anybody here in the audience who would like to speak on the agenda item today? All right, seeing none, bringing it back to the board. Commissioners, what's the will of the board? Do you have any questions or comments for Adrian Byrne-Lutz?
If there are none, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the terms of the agreement and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any final discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ronzog.
Aye.
Chairman Howe.
Aye. All right, thank you. Next item, please.
Item H, consideration of grant award from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment to provide the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children within the Division of Health.
Good afternoon again. Adrian Byrne-Lutz, Sedgwick County Health Director. I'm here this afternoon to ask for your consideration of a grant award in the amount of $2,152,005 from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment to provide the WIC services. The Division of Health has managed the WIC program in Sedgwick County for 42 years. WIC is the largest public health program in the nation and is funded entirely through the United States Department of Agriculture. WIC provides nutrition education, supplemental food checks for specific nutritious food, referrals to community health agencies when needed, and breastfeeding support. To be eligible for the WIC program, moms or children must have at least one medical or nutrition risk factor, such as overweight, underweight, history of pregnancy complications or poor pregnancy outcomes, or anemia. They need to live within Sedgwick County, be pregnant, breastfeeding, or have children under the age of 5, and meet income guidelines at or below 185% of the federal poverty guideline, which equals approximately $45,000 for a family of 4. In 2015, we served on average just under 12,000 women, infants, and children each month, totaling over 116,000 encounters during the year. I ask that you accept this award, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
All right, thank you for the explanation. I will also, on this item, go back to the public. Is anybody in the audience who would like to speak on the agenda item? All right, seeing none, bringing it back to the board. Commissioners, any comments or questions or any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move that we accept the award and authorize the chair to sign the award agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Comments or questions? Commissioner Ranzau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Adrian, I have a few questions. We're talking, this money we're talking about, is this benefit money? Is this money for benefits?
No. This is money that's passed through the Kansas Department, the United States Department of Agriculture to Kansas WIC. This money is for operations and staff salary. So there's a different pot that we don't operate that state WIC uses for those supplemental food checks.
Okay, so this is administrative cost.
That is correct.
Okay. Now I have a couple questions. I know last year we made some decisions on the funding. We decided this year to spend $113,000 more than what we did the previous year. Now, some have mischaracterized that as a cut, but nevertheless, as a result of that funding decision to spend $113,000 more, has there been any problems with people receiving their WIC benefits?
No.
Has anyone received less money from WIC?
No.
Have there been any complaints?
Not that I am aware of, no.
So we've been able to meet all needs as far as administratively.
Yes.
All the needs of all the clients with the money that we got last year.
Everybody has been provided services to.
With the money that we approved last year for this year.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. I'll just say that when I was originally briefed on this, the request was $2,036,051, which was a 5% increase over last year, which I fully support. Since that time, however, there's been an increase in the amount by $116,000, which brings it up to about a 10% increase, which I can't support. I think when we administer programs like this, we want to be both compassionate and fair. And that means we need to be compassionate and fair both to the people receiving the benefits as well as those people who are paying for the benefits. These two positions, this money is going to be used to fund two positions, which we have demonstrated are not necessary overhead costs in order to meet all the needs of our clients. So I think in order to be fair to the taxpayers and people who are funding them, I think it's very important that we be fair and responsible and keep the overhead costs as low as possible, since we know we're meeting all the needs. We are able to achieve that last year, and I think we should maintain that. So I can't be supportive. I believe this extra $116,000 would not be fair to everyone involved as far as paying for it, and is really unnecessary overhead costs. But I did support the original request of a 5% increase that I was originally briefed on. So I want to make sure everyone understands where I'm coming from. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Commissioner Ranzau. Commissioner Peter John.
Yes, just a quick question in terms of the number of beneficiaries and the benefits they receive. Do we expect, what sort of growth do we expect in those numbers, or projecting for the duration of this grant?
WIC throughout the country is still on a little bit of a decline each year, but as far as the number of moms, infants, and children that we serve, but that decrease is starting to slow significantly from the previous years. But currently we're on track, I think, to provide about 6% less than last year.
Okay. Because I have many of the same concerns that Commissioner Ranzau stated, and I have no problem with the increase in terms of the 5%, but 10% I'm struggling with. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, Commissioner Unruh?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Adrian, this additional $116,000, I don't think I have all the facts in my memory, but wasn't that the result of a mathematical miscalculation from the previous year, and this kind of makes up?
Yes, we found that we underreported our expenditures by about $130,000, and so in order to be able to make that budget last year, there were 3 positions that we did not fill once they were vacated through attrition. And so, as Commissioner Ranzau has asked, and I responded, we were able to meet all the needs of people, but there is a balance between efficiency and customer service. And by filling 2 of those positions, particularly one that drives the appointments, that the dietitian, that will allow us to get people in a couple days earlier to start receiving those benefits.
Okay, thank you. Well, that helps me remember, and this is kind of backfilling a vacancy that, in your opinion, we need for an efficient operation.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Unruh. Commissioner Peter John?
Oh, if my memory is correct, that dietitian position is somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 a year. Is that in the ballpark?
That is correct.
Okay. So it could be funded with the 5%? You had the original figure as opposed to the larger number? Or
No, the 5% is for the increase in employee benefits and compensation merits. So the additional was for 2 positions. One is a floating, one is the dietitian, you're correct, and the other is a floating support person that fills in at any of the 3 locations when other support staff are out, which is frequent.
Well, to help us out, and since we're not talking about benefits here, I think it's important for the public to know we're talking about the staff that's going to be involved in administering it. We've got 2 positions plus an increase in benefits in terms of pay and medical and so on. Could you kind of give us a quick run through for the amounts for the other position and the benefit portion And the payroll side of this increase, please.
Yes, the registered dietitian is approximately $65,000, and then the benefits and salary for the support staff were under $45 approximately. That made up that $113, and then there was a small administrative increase by $7,000.
Okay, so that's about $120, but
Then
if we're looking at it, it's $213,000 roughly
yes.
total. So.
Yes, and so my math is off a little bit. The support person is likely under $40,000.
Okay. I'm struggling with the increase when we've got the amount paid in benefits and the number of beneficiaries going down and having this larger percentage increase, and so I'd be interested in hearing from my fellow commissioners going forward on this. Thank you.
I have one question. You have approximately, if I remember correctly, about 60 personnel altogether that are administrating this program,
How many?
roughly?
I have Sandy Richenberger, the WIC program manager. 32 FTEs right there. We have a number of part-time and full-time staff, but it is the equivalent of 32 full-time staff. We have more on the staffing table, but that aren't funded.
I don't know where I got 60. Did you tell me 60 earlier when I asked the
I
question?
I think I said around 50.
Okay. That's a pretty significant difference. And so what Commissioner Ranza was talking about would be two of the positions relevant to about, we have 32 FTE, full-time equivalent. Would that jump up to like 34 or something like
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes.
So if we pass this as it's been motioned and seconded right now, you would be able to hire about 2, and that would be bump you up to about 34 FTE approximately.
Yes, the equivalent of.
And your staffing table already reflects those positions being vacant, so you
Yes.
don't require any other work from us to do that. Okay.
No.
Commissioners, any other comments or questions before we vote? All right. Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second, so please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh,
Aye.
Commissioner Norton,
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn,
No.
Commissioner Ranzau,
No.
Chairman Howe.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Item I, report of the Board of Bids and Contracts regular meeting of September 29th, 2016.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Joe Thomas, Purchasing Director. The meeting we had of the Board of Bids and Contracts on September 29th resulted in 2 items that we're presenting to you this afternoon. Our first item is the 3,500-gallon oil distributor truck for fleet management. This recommendation is to accept the best proposal from Berry Tractor and Equipment Company in the amount of $235,955 and to establish contract pricing for labor, parts, and freight for repairs for a period of 3 years. And our last item, item 2, is the 2017 Chevrolet Express 3500 15-passenger full-size vans for fleet management. And this recommendation is to accept the bid from Don Hatton Chevrolet Company in the amount of $61,800. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, and I recommend approval of both items.
Mr. Thomas, can you confirm, do we only have one bid for the van?
Yes, we were surprised by that as well. When we contacted all the solicited vendors, several of them said they no longer had a fleet department. A couple of the out-of-town vendors basically said they didn't feel like they would be competitive. And then I think a few may have just not taken the opportunity to provide a bid.
And this will be used by the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, it is.
Do we believe this is a good price based on history of how we purchased these vans in the past? This is a good price?
Yes, we do.
Very good. I have no other questions. Commissioner Peterjohn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the recommendations of the boards and bids and contracts, and I do want to make a brief comment on what we have in front of us, kind of a glass half empty or glass half full example, if I can waive this and on that, but I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to help move this forward.
Very good. We have a motion and a second, so you may continue.
Okay, thank you. My comment is I'm delighted that we had local bidders in here, and my distress on this, and in terms of the glass half empty, is the fact that of of these two items, we only had 3 bids come in total. So I had the same concern the chairman expressed, and I'm glad to hear from the background. We feel like we've got a good bid on the one where we had a sole bid, because there was a wide variance between the two prices on the first item that did have 2 bids on it. But I appreciate the efforts and appreciate the effort to get as many bids as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Peter John. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peter John?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Next item, please.
Consent agenda.
Commissioners, Mike Scholes, County Manager, recommend you approve consent agenda items Juliet through Lima.
All right, I'd like to make a motion we would adopt the items J through L on the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Let me just say this is exciting for me. I've been working on the 87th Street South mile between, really it's a 4-way partnership, but really, I think the resolution shows 3 between the township, the city of Derby, and Sedgwick County. And then, of course, we know Westar is also involved in moving some poles. And so, fairly expensive project. And to get this actually through the commission moves us forward. So I'm excited to see this finally come before us. And thank you to Mr. Spears for your work on making this come before us today. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call a vote.
Commissioner Unruh?
Aye.
Commissioner Norton?
Aye.
Commissioner Peter John?
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau?
Aye.
Chairman Howell?
Aye. All right. We'll go ahead and do legislative issues next, and then we do have an executive session. We're going to do that at the very end here.
Don't forget fire.
We did that earlier. Yep. We're good on fire.
Okay.
Yep. So we're going to go ahead and go to legislative issues. Anybody have any comments for legislative issues today? All right. I didn't think so. With this late time in the day, I think we'll just move on to the next thing. Commissioners, anything for other today? Commissioner Peter John.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I do want to give a very brief report on a couple of items. Number one, last Friday, and give a big plug for the Sunrise Rotary Group, because last Friday out at Sedgwick County Park, the Boundless Playground expansion presentation occurred on a beautiful Friday evening. There was a lot of folks present. The Rotary folks are going forward with their fundraising. I want to wish them well. I think it's a great project. It's very heavily used. Every time I go through the park, that's one of the areas where you can find congestion in the parking lots, and just an absolutely fabulous facility, and for children of all ages. EMS groundbreaking that we had on South Oliver. I'm looking forward to some more. Hopefully we can take care of some of our long-term challenges with EMS, but I think it was great having that expansion. Not only there, looking forward to ones out on the far west side with folks. I'd also be remiss if I didn't point out that October 5th is an important day in American history on several levels. I know that aviation is important to this community, and in 1930, the first woman, Laura Ingalls, completed the first cross-continental flight from New York to Glendale, California, and she did it in 30 hours and 27 minutes. But I want to mention and digress for just a second on Kansas history, because this is an important day, particularly for Kansas crime. The Dalton gang tried to rob a couple banks in Coffeyville in 1892 on October 5th. Didn't work out so well for them. A whole bunch of them ended up getting shot and killed, but it did occur on October 5th. Important day in both Kansas and U.S. history, and just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Peter John. Any other comments for other today? All right. Seeing none. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Executive session.
Go ahead. Commissioner Ranzau.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session for 30 minutes to consider personnel matters of non-elected personnel, and that the Board of County Commissioners return to this room for executive session no sooner than 2:21, and the executive session is required to protect attorney-client privilege and the public interest.
I'd second that. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Commissioner Unruh.
Aye.
Commissioner Norton.
Aye.
Commissioner Peterjohn.
Aye.
Commissioner Ranzau.
Aye.
Chairman Howe.
Aye. Okay, we'll be in executive session until about 2:21 p.m. All right, folks, we are back from executive session. I'll call us back to order once again. Mr. Manager, I think we're at the end of the agenda. Anything else that we need to talk about today?
That's it.
Let me say, as we come back from executive session, that no binding action was taken. I always forget that detail. No binding action was taken, and nothing else from the manager. Commissioners, anything else before we adjourn today? All right, seeing none. We're adjourned. Thank you.